In a glass-walled boardroom, a black CEO extended her hand across the table. The chairwoman smirked, lifted her palm, and said, "We don't shake hands with people like you." The room went silent, then a few uneasy laughs broke the air. Cameras from the investor livestream caught everything. The smirk, the dismissal, the quiet humiliation. But what no one in that room knew was this. The woman she just insulted controlled every dollar on the table. By morning, $2.4 billion would vanish without a word. The boardroom on the 47th floor of Langston Tower was all glass and silence. A cathedral of control. 12 executives sat around a polished table that reflected their ambition. At the head, Victoria Sloan, chairwoman of the empire, adjusted her papers like a judge preparing a verdict. Across from her sat Ava Monroe, CEO of Monroe Capital, calm and composed. She had built her investment firm from the ground up, one contract at a time. And today's meeting was the final stage of a $2.4 billion merger that could reshape the industry. But for Victoria, the deal wasn't business, it was theater, and she intended to humiliate her guest before the curtain closed. When Ava rose and extended her hand, Victoria leaned back, lips curling into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "We don't shake hands with people like you," she said, her voice cutting through the glass and chrome like ice. The room froze. A few of the men exchanged nervous glances. One coughed into his fist. Another smirked. The moment stretched, painful and deliberate. Cameras from the investor livestream captured it all. The outstretched hand, the insult, the laughter that followed. Ava's hand remained steady for a heartbeat before she lowered it slowly. She didn't blink, didn't flinch. Her silence wasn't weakness. It was calculation understood, she said softly. Returning to her seat, Victoria smiled wider, savoring her small victory. "Now that we're clear on protocol," she said, "let's proceed." As the meeting continued, Victoria's tone sharpened with every slide, every number, every projection. She cut Ava off mid-sentence, corrected her analysts, and ridiculed her firm's valuation model as aspirational. The men chuckled, emboldened. It was the kind of corporate cruelty wrapped in civility. Subtle, practiced, and suffocating. But Ava didn't raise her voice. She took notes. She watched every smirk. She memorized every face when Victoria leaned forward and said, "You'll learn, Miss Monroe, that this industry doesn't reward emotional ambition." Ava only nodded. Inside, though, something cold and surgical was already moving. At 3:17 p.m., during a short recess, Ava stepped into the hallway and dialed one number. Her voice was low, measured. "Execute Clause 813, effective immediately." There was no emotion, no explanation. When she re-entered the boardroom, the discussion resumed as if nothing had changed. Victoria barely glanced up. "Where were we?" she asked, pretending not to notice the tension in Ava's stillness. Ava met her gaze. "At the part where arrogance becomes expensive," she said quietly. Victoria frowned. "Excuse me?" Before Ava could answer, phones around the table began buzzing. One, then two, then all of them. Screens lit up with red alerts. The CFO's face turned pale as he scrolled through an email chain. "Chairwoman," he said, his voice cracking. "Our primary funding, it's gone." "What?" "Monroe Capital has withdrawn all investment, $2.4 billion. Effective immediately." The room erupted. Executives spoke over one another, disbelief clashing with panic. Victoria's confidence shattered like glass under pressure. She turned to Ava, eyes wide. "You can't." "I can," Ava said softly. "Clause 8.3 was signed by your own legal team. It allows immediate withdrawal if any act of misconduct is documented during negotiations. And since this meeting is live-streamed," her gaze shifted to the corner camera, the one still recording, "you've provided all the documentation I need." Victoria's mouth opened, but no words came. Her face flushed red, then drained to white. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Yes," Ava replied. "I've protected my capital from contamination." Executives whispered frantically. One tried to call the PR department. Another checked the markets. The stock ticker on the wall began to tremble, numbers sliding downward in real time. Within minutes, headlines broke across financial networks. Monroe Capital withdraws $2.4 billion. Sloan Industries in crisis. Victoria gripped the edge of the table. "We can fix this. We can renegotiate." Ava stood. "There's nothing to fix. This isn't a negotiation. It's a consequence." Her tone was calm, quieter than the storm now roaring outside the windows. Victoria looked at the board members around her. "Desperate, you're just going to sit there," she snapped. "She's destroying everything we've built." One of the executives spoke softly. "Eyes down, no ma'am, you did." Ava gathered her portfolio. "For future reference," she said, "respect is cheaper than recovery." Then she turned to the door, but before she left, she paused beside Victoria. The chairwoman was still standing, frozen in disbelief. Ava's voice dropped low enough for only her to hear. You thought power meant control? It doesn't. Power means choice, and I just made mine. As Ava walked out, cameras caught the reflection of her calm face against the glass. A woman leaving the boardroom she no longer needed. Behind her, the empire unraveled in real time. The markets plunged, banks called in guarantees. By evening, Sloan Industries' valuation had collapsed by 38%. Investors fled like smoke through broken glass. By midnight, Victoria's face was all over the news. The woman who lost billions with a single sentence. Ava never gave an interview. She issued one short statement. Partnerships end when respect does. The next morning, the financial press called it the handshake collapse. Business schools dissected it for years. But in quiet offices and boardrooms across the world, women who had once been dismissed replayed that clip and whispered her name like a warning. Because sometimes power doesn't roar. Sometimes it simply stops shaking hands. If you believe respect can't be bought, prove it. Like this video, share it everywhere. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from and what moment hit you deepest. Subscribe.